Hi, I'm Dr. Wendy Bohan and I'm an earthquake geologist. I'm doing a series on earthquakes in all 50 states, and today's state is Connecticut. I usually start off talking about historical seismicity in a state, but it's almost Halloween, so let's start this with a mystery. There's a place in Connecticut where residents have been describing mysterious noises, cracks, and booms for hundreds of years, maybe even thousands of years. This place is Moodus, Connecticut, and the name Moodus is actually short for a native word, Machimutus, which means place of noises. So these noises have been recognized and noted for a really long time. In the 1980s, the mystery was finally solved, and it turns out that these are small, shallow earthquakes that people are hearing. So sometimes when the seismic waves from the earthquakes are traveling through the earth, they can interface with the air in such a way and at such a frequency that we're able to hear it. And that seems to happen around Moodus quite a bit. So in 1791, there was a pretty big earthquake there. It was between a magnitude 4.4 and a magnitude 5. It was widely felt across Connecticut. It was even felt in like Boston and Albany and New York City. It did some damage. There were chimneys that were cracked. There were stone walls that were thrown down. And after that earthquake, there were tons and tons of noises around Moodus. There was also a resurgence of the Moodus noises in the 1980s. Turns out that was from a series of earthquake swarms that happened, hundreds of little earthquakes that happened in that region. And so earthquake swarms are a little bit different. We've talked about it in other videos. Instead of there being one sort of larger earthquake called a main shock followed by lots of little aftershocks, an earthquake swarm is where you have earthquakes of around the same magnitude that are happening in the same general location over a short duration, usually weeks to months. So that happened in the 1980s in Moodus and caused lots of Moodus noises. But Moodus isn't the only place in Connecticut where there are earthquake swarms. So in 2014 and 2015, there was an earthquake swarm in Oregon. And there were hundreds of earthquakes in that swarm, the largest of which was a magnitude 3.1 on January the 12th. But there's lots of regular earthquakes in Connecticut also. So there was, in addition to that earthquake in 1791, there was a magnitude 3.8 near Hartford in 1840 and a magnitude 3.9 near Bridgeport in 1845, as well as lots of smaller earthquakes. But it's not just earthquakes inside Connecticut that can shake the state. You can get shaken by earthquakes outside of the state, and this happens quite a lot. In fact, folks in Connecticut have reported shaking from places like Massachusetts, earthquakes that happened in Massachusetts, New York, New Hampshire, even as far away as Virginia during the magnitude 5.8 Mineral Virginia earthquake. And people in Connecticut actually felt shaking from the New Madrid earthquakes of 1811 and 1812. And you know, there's earthquakes in Canada too that sometimes are felt in Connecticut, including the magnitude 6.2 earthquake in Quebec in 1925. So Connecticut is earthquake country, and you need to know what to do if you feel shaking from an earthquake. You drop down to the ground, take cover underneath a sturdy object like a desk or a table, and then hold on until all the shaking has stopped. Don't be scared. Be prepared.